Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to the next TED Talk on urban flooding. Uh, Even though there's a long title, but I just wanted to highlight this part that it is actually about urban flooding, partly because there is some background to it. In fact, Professor Gusain, today's speaker, who doesn't need any introduction, someone who's quite well known in the water policy governance circles. He has written a very interesting piece in Indian Express in the first week of June this year, when Delhi was experiencing floods, and then it was a very. The reason why I say it is very interesting piece is that it actually goes into the specifics of how the design process of sewerage in cities happens, and then how urban flooding is usually, at least in a limited way, is an inevitable phenomenon. And then, because of the recent changes in both land use and the urban planning practices, and also the climate change impact, I think we do need to rethink the entire design process and urban planning in general is necessary. I think that was a very important argument that he makes in that topic, and we thought that actually we should bring it out at that time. But then I can go a little bit more into details, but then it would take time. But it was primarily the scheduling problems, partly because Professor Gusain at the time was traveling abroad, and then we had to hold it for a while. And after that, it took some time to schedule this talk. But otherwise, it is still relevant, though the focus in Delhi has shifted perhaps from the next urban risk of air pollution from urban flooding. The seasonal risks that we get every through the year in the cities, which is quite reflective of it. But we thought that it is anyway. It's very important that we should bring this to the attention of policymakers and planners, and then also sustain the debate and discussion about urban risks in general. So I'd like to thank Professor Gusain for being patient with us and accepting the invitation, and then taking time to give this talk. I know that he has just returned from another important conversation that was happening, and then it was a tight schedule. Thank you, sir, for coming. As I said, Professor Gusain does not need introduction, but let me also update you with the recent things that he has been doing, I guess I would say. So, as an introduction, Dr. A.K. Gusain is a professor emeritus in the area of water resources engineering and GIS technologies at the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. He's a pioneering expert in climate change impact assessment on Indian water resources, having led the modeling studies incorporated in India's first and second national communications, NATCOM 1 and 2, to the FCCC. He is currently associated with the fourth national communication, focusing on adaptation options for water sector, and has served as a reviewer for the IPCC fourth and fifth ARs assessment reports. Professor Gusain has contributed to numerous prestigious national and international initiatives. He was a member of the Task Force on Water, Agriculture, and Food Security constituted for formulating India's Science, Technology, and Innovation Policy, STIP 2020. He played a leading role in the Ganga River Basin Management Plan, GRPMP, that is being implemented currently by the National Mission for Clean Ganga for the Namami Gange program. And he was the team lead for the Water Resources Management Group. And he was also involved in the drainage master plan for the National Capital Territory of Delhi. I think there is no one else who can speak to the subject of urban flooding, particularly Delhi, better than him, given that he was involved in preparing this drainage master plan. He continues to serve on expert committees of the National Green Tribunal, addressing pollution challenges in the Ganga and Yamuna rivers, and was instrumental in drafting Ganga Act for the Ministry of Jal Shakti, Professor Gosain recently led a major international research project on water security and sustainable development for NCT of Delhi, funded by the Global Challenge Research Fund of UK. He was a recipient of Global Excellence Award in 2021 in the water sector by the Energy and Environment Foundation. Professor Gosain was also serves as a founder and director of INRM Integrated Natural Resources Management Consultants, a company incubated at IIT Delhi. He has previously served as the head of Department of Civil Engineering and head of the Computer Services Center at IIT Delhi. With that introduction, Professor Gosain, just before I hand it over, I think quickly the only housekeeping rules, obviously, I would expect you to sort of put off your cell phones or put it on in silent mode. And we will have about 40 minutes for your talk. And after that, we will open for discussion, Q&A. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you, Dr. Srinivas, for the kind introduction and giving the overview. I think this is I'll keep it closer. So I put together some of the slides, but I slightly went beyond your scope, because when we look at the urban flooding, it need not be because of the local rainfall. It can also be riverine floods bothering the local cities, which are, in our case, also is the same situation. I'll skip some of the slides which are, sorry. I'll skip some of the slides which I feel they are not requiring time to be devoted. They are general. This is something which we'd like to just mention briefly, that when we talk of flooding, riverine flooding is one, urban flooding is another issue, which is because of the local drainage congestion. Then we also have flash floods, which is a slightly different category, including even GLOF, which is a glacial lake outburst floods, which is a new phenomena which will be more recurring in the coming future. Then coastal floods, they are the ones which are bothering the coastal cities. They can be on account of the cyclones or sea level rise or the storm surges. But when we talk of the flooding, the main source is the rainfall or precipitation in some cases, which is including the snowfall as well as the glacier melt. But unless you understand what is the conversion process, which is the normal flooding, whether riverine or the urban areas, the process is conversion of rainfall into stormwater, the runoff. So that is what we are going to focus on. But to understand that better in the present day context, there are procedures, there are tools available, which we call hydrological models. So I'll try to go to those slides directly, not dwell into the riverine flooding causes and the urban flooding. But this is something which is a scientific tool available, which will encompass both aspects, whether it is a riverine flood or whether it is a urban flood. These models, this is one model, specific model, which we have been using very extensively. And I'll be proud to say that in this model started somewhere around 95. And we have been associated with this model since then. It's a public domain model. That means anybody can download and without any payment or without any license fee, they can start using. And there are around more than 25 groups, research groups across the world, which are contributing to this model, which is one is our group.
Open source.
It's open source. And one group is ours, where many of my students have contributed to enhance some of the processes. Some of the modules have been brought in. So this is a model which is mimicking the natural processes. Because unless there was a time when we were using the empirical relationships, that if this much amount of rainfall comes in a particular basin, then how it will translate into runoff, how it will translate into hydrograph, what will be the observed flows available at some location of your choice, maybe at the outlet of a basin. Those were the days, I'm talking of 60s, 70s. And these models are relatively new in the last 25 years or so. They have come up, but they have changed the total complexion of tackling the problems. So and it's depicting that as a distributed model. What it means is that when you are looking at what happens to the rainfall and when it falls on the landmass. So the response of the landmass to the rainfall will be different depending on what is the type of terrain is encountering, what is the type of land use it's encountering. Land use, when I say, it can be a forest land, it can be a barren land, it can be agriculture area. So these are the various kinds of broad categories of land use. It can be totally a paved area. So the response will be on the basis of where it has occurred. And that means that you'll have to capture in your models the variability of your land use. Then the third thing is, what is the kind of strata is encountering in terms of the soil? Is it a porous soil? If it is a porous soil, then a major portion of the soil, of the rainfall might be absorbed into the soil because it is having an infiltration capacity, which is much more than the clay soil. Similarly, so these are the characteristics which have to be captured, but it doesn't stop there. You have to also see that when the water has been distributed from the rainfall into these subcategories, so if it has encountered a hard area, which is not having any percolation possibility, the runoff generation will be much higher. The whole amount might be generated into a stormwater. Whereas if it is a natural area which has the soil, which has the porous soil, good part of that will be absorbed. So up to that is only the characteristics of the area which will decide. But then it doesn't stop there. It also depends on if it is a soil moisture, if it is a soil, how wet the soil is. The same soil, if it is dry, it'll have more absorbing capacity. But when it becomes wet, it'll have reduced possibility of infiltration. So that means there's a dynamism also which has to be captured. So you cannot say that, okay, I have now taken the characterization of the areas and the job is done. You have to keep track of what has happened to that water which has got allocated over different segments and different land use portions. Which means the other processes also have to be incorporated. For example, that moisture which has gone into the soil, if the soil cannot hold all the moisture, so depending on the characteristics of the soil, some portion of the water will percolate deeper and join the groundwater table. So that's what we call recharge, groundwater recharge. Now, depending on the status of the soil moisture, the model has to see that how much will go down and also the characteristics of the soil. Then the remaining moisture which is held in the soil is very closely held, is not allowed to move, will be used by the biomass. Whether it's trees, whether it's the crops, or whether it's the grass. So all that, those biomass which has the process of transpiration, they will be also become active. So the transpiration will also be varying from time to time depending on the soil moisture available. So I think I'm trying to give you the complexity of the whole thing, that how complex it will become when you are trying to do this way. But this was the only reason that we were using the lumped models. We were only characterizing an area by saying that how much is the area of the sub-basin or the basin, and then what is the general kind of land use. So we had no option but to keep it lumped and not make it distributed, even after realizing that in nature, the variability is there of utilization of water and also storing the water and also dissipating the water. All those things are variable. So when the GIS came into picture, that was the only time that it gave the facility to you to really look at how you can come out with elements of modeling, or we can say the building blocks of the models, which, for example, if I have the same kind of land parcel which has the same soil and the same land use, its behavior to the rainfall will be similar as the other landmass of the similar category. So by using the GIS layers and intersecting them, we could come out with the hydrological response units, which are the building blocks of this kind of modeling. So with that background, I'm just now going to take you next, because this is important. This is important if you have to capture the variability and the distributedness of your response of the rainfall to your areas. This is an example I'm just giving you that we have this we call, when we create a digital model of the river basin or the system, we are calling these days as a digital twin. Now, these are the basic elements of the digital twin, which I have just explained to you, that you need to know what is the terrain information that comes from the digital elevation model. These are what it says is that it gives every land parcel elevation. What is the elevation of that land parcel or a cell, which has a size, maybe depending on the product, it has 30 meter by 30 meter cell. So what is the general elevation of that? This is the outcome in the basin of Mahanadi river basin, that there are areas which are very high elevation. For example, all those brown areas are high elevation areas. And you see the lower elevation, which are the green areas. So this gives you a character of the basin, how it is having the variation as terrain is concerned. Then the other thing I mentioned, that we need the land use. So this is a land use layer for the basin, where the land use has been translated into various subcomponents. And the soil layer, these are the basic characterization of the basin. And having done that, we have distributed the whole thing into sub areas, which are, because Mahanadi is a main stem of the river, but it has many tributaries. All those tributaries, the blue, you can see those blue drainage. So each drainage has its own catchment area. So we have divided the whole basin into smaller, you can say, watersheds or catchments or sub areas or sub basins, into those many sub areas, so that each one you can find out what is the response of the rainfall in that. And in the modeling, the only thing is that you have to also validate your model. When I say validate your model, is generating some flow using all the computations which are happening in the background, using all the processes which I have just briefly mentioned. But at the same time, you want to validate the model that if you have some observation points where you are observing the flows, which the Central Water Commission does or the state governments do, that flow is available, that on a particular stream at that location where you're observing the flows, what was the flow at a particular time in the day, and what your model has simulated. So we compare those things, and when the comparison is good, we say that we have captured the characterization of the basin, and it is performing something which the nature is doing on it. So I think that, but it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. There's the rainfall, because now we have to impose what the nature does. The rainfall or the precipitation has to be imposed. And these are the points where all the dots, which are green dots, they are the gridded rainfall locations where the IMD, India Meteorological Department, provides you the data on a daily basis that on a particular day, in that grid, this much rainfall has occurred. The red dots are the meteorological stations where you can get the temperature, because you have to also compute what is the evapotranspiration and all those other parameters. And only then the model, all the processes of the model can be taken care of. Now, the next point, which is more important, is that if there was no, yes.
Don't worry. Is there usually is the variation in temperature much lower spatially than the variation in precipitation? I was just wondering, why should the density of temperature, or is it, or are
Yeah.
temperature monitors much more expensive than
Yes,
precipitation?
that is the strategy which is being used by the IMD. And they see the same, and you are right, that the variation of the temperature is not as much as the rainfall variation is there. So there are WMO guidelines. They observe the WMO guidelines. For example, for the terrains which are flat terrains, the rain gauge density is much lower than for higher areas, for the mountainous areas where the variability is high. So all those things are taken care of by the India Meteorological Department, or for that matter, any meteorological department in various countries.
I'm just curious.
No problem.
Sure. Sorry.
So the next thing which I was trying to add in to make the complexity still further more complex, that what you have done as man-made interventions in the basin, all these red dots which you are seeing, they are the projects in only one basin, Mahanadi Basins. There are 220 projects, 75 major and medium projects, 23 I think
Large projects.
no, it should have been minor projects.
Right.
So overall 220 projects had to be taken care of to bring in the baseline into picture, and it doesn't stop there. Project means you can give the characteristics which are fixed characteristics. For example, what is the swale size? What is the area capacity elevation curve? How much will be the depth of or volume of water stored in the reservoir if the elevation is at a particular elevation? But that is not the only requirement. You also have to give that how the water which has been stored, that the model will take care of. If you give that this much is the depression, that this much is the inflow coming into the reservoir, but how much you have taken out of the reservoir and where it has gone. Has it been released into the downstream river, or has it been used into and sent into a canal, and from there it has gone into some area where it has been dumped as irrigation water? So if it is irrigation given, the model has to be told that this is the amount of irrigation which has been given in this much in this particular area. So you have to keep track of that also. Only then this simulation can be, because otherwise you are saying that I have observed this much flow at this location, but you are not incorporated these projects. So the water is not being released and you are observing as if it is coming as a natural process without any obstruction. So I think that makes it still more complex and difficult. But having done that, now this is what are the various locations where we had the stations where the observations about the capture of the flow is being done. So 23 points are there where the 23 locations where the discharge measurement stations are there. Now this is, I'm just depicting to you that we have done the validation of the model at all these locations and then found that how good the model is behaving in terms of comparing with the observed flow, what the model is giving and what was the observed flow. So in most of the cases, it's either good or very good, but there are a couple of points where you couldn't do that, and the reasons can be many. Maybe the observations themselves were not taken properly. But I think I just wanted to share with you that this task is very important before you go to the next level. These are in terms of the flows from the annual every year, how much was the observed flow and how much was the in a different way as a hydrologist will normally depict. Now here I'll now come to, after giving you this background, that if we are willing to, if we are thinking of managing the water, then this is the kind of capture which you need to have for each basin. because then the water balance can be ascertained at the basin level. You can see what is the situation in the basin, how much is the flow which is becoming available with a variability from year to year. What is the average flow, and how much is the demand you have imposed in terms of all demands put together, agriculture demand, your domestic demand, your the industrial demand, and how much water has to be used or be available for the environmental purpose. So all that put together will be the water balance, and that has to be maintained, and that is what is the sustainability has to be ascertained. But what is happening now? If I look at any basin in the country, they are not sustainable. If you analyze the demand versus the availability, demand is much higher. And that is reflected in the fact that every basin, the groundwater table is going down year after year. So all your deficit is coming from the groundwater. And a time is going to come when there's no groundwater left, and you will be stranded. And that is not the only harmful effect which will be observed. There is another issue which doesn't become visible, and this is a slide which I have just created to showcase that invariably, see, the groundwater and the surface water interact with each other. After the monsoon, our rainfall enhances the groundwater table. It goes up. So the groundwater table fluctuates from season to season. At the end of the monsoon season, it is at the highest level. And most of the rivers which are not glacier or the snow-fed, they are perennial because of this contribution coming from the groundwater and going to the rivers. So that is the upper case where the groundwater table is contributing to the river, and that is what we call base flow. Whereas the present situation, when your groundwater table has gone down below the level of the water in the river, they start losing water to the groundwater. So it's a reversal of a natural process, which is very bad. And on account of that also, some of your river stretches, and we are shown while doing the work for Ganga, we have done the hydrological modeling and the groundwater modeling in conjunction, and we have showcased which are the stretches in river Ganga, which is losing water to the groundwater. And that was, there's a paper which we had published in hydrological processes. And this is the first time it was quantified that how much water you are losing on this account. So I think I'll stop this part here and move to the, but just to mention that this,
I think it was 60% or 80%. Could you clarify?
it will depend on which period you are looking at.
Okay.
If you're looking at only the low flow period, then the percentage will be very high. Because in the monsoon period, the amount of water which is in the river is very high. So that percentage will keep on. When we have given that, I can send you the copy of the paper. You can look at that. But then this whole thing, after creating these digital twins, we have created a portal which is available to anybody. Every day we are simulating the whole country. And we are using the rainfall forecast of IMD and running the model and showing that what will be the flow which is expected in the next 6 days. Because we are having 6 days ahead rainfall forecast. Mm-hmm. So this is the portal which is again showing the same thing, that you can also see what is the soil moisture going to be in the next 6 days, which can be used as a good advisory for the farmers.
Accessible.
Is accessible. You can access it even now. But we keep on refining it, because the only thing which we are lacking is that we are not able to immediately, though our models are validated, but we are not able to immediately get the data from the Sand Water Commission, what is the flow, so that we can compare what we are giving and what is actually happening. So that time will come when that becomes available to anybody, and then we can also incorporate. So I'll quickly go through this. I mean, this is a final thing where you have the drainage system, and it shows that at any location, how much is the flow which is expected in a particular day, and it also give you the graph. Okay. Then I just wanted to also mention briefly that
Sorry, the groundwater thing that you just said.
groundwater is not incorporated in this. The model takes care of the groundwater, but not the actual groundwater. It takes care of the fictitious groundwater. It creates its own. It doesn't have the combined groundwater model, but now it has happened. And now we are, basin by basin, we are incorporating the groundwater also. And I think maybe by the end of next 6 months, you will have some of the models which will also have the groundwater fluctuations and total information about the groundwater.
And would this also be, can this also be applied to urban areas, or is it?
Yes.
That's what he would come to.
Is because urban area, the same process is there, is no different process. There are only some peculiarities which I'll come out with in the urban areas, but this is basically at the basin level, and urban area is a subset of a basin. See, the urban areas are not standalone, they're not separate.
I was just wondering whether all that built up changes the.
Same thing. Yeah, that is what is incorporated in the model.
Perfect. Sure.
But not to that extent that you are not capturing the reality, you are only giving in the form of a land use. And in the urban area, your land use will say that most of it is paved area. So what will be the response of that? But we might not be able to say that in the drains in the urban area, what is the flow which is happening, because that information has not gone into the model. For that, you have to set up the urban model to get that information separately.
But would things like subsidence, etc., would that be predicted?
Subsidence, not in this case, because subsidence will have additional information to be fed in. But this model takes care of it. This is the only hydrological model which has the crop growth component embedded into the model. So which means that you can grow the crops, simulate them, look at their implication in terms of what is the temperature stress in the crop, what is the nutrient stress, what is the water stress, all that it computes and gives you the biomass as well as the crop yield. So that is another level of validation whether your model is working properly or not. So what I'm just put across that you have every component of water captured in a manner which you can start using in various ways. For example, your policy. Now, right now, I can say that most of our policies are not founded on the scientific data. And that is a point which is not verified. So if you have this kind of data which is available for these kind of policies which are going to look at various aspects related to these aspects, then you have much better policy. You can even evaluate your policy, whether your policy has gone in the right direction or not. I'll again, because of the lack of time, there are many other byproducts which you can think of using this framework. So I think this is the URL of your this portal. So you can even have I'm leaving the copy here.
How many river basins you have?
All the river basins, total country. Now, coming to the urban flooding, again, I'll skip this. I'll come directly to the case, what we did and what we learned while doing the case study of Delhi. I have around 3 case studies I picked up because they are different in character. So I thought I'll share with you that how we should tackle these issues. Some of the issues are common across our cities. So in the case of city also, as you are, I think the question which was posed. Now here also we have to first do the delineation, irrespective of the fact whether it's a natural drain or whether it's an artificial drain. Now this is the natural drain, and this delineation is part of Delhi, which we call Barapula Basin. Delhi is divided into 3 major basins. One is Nazafgarh, then Barapula, and the East Delhi. So these are the three segments of Delhi, but I'm just showing you one that in this particular case, this is the natural drainage.
Western Delhi.
This is the southern Delhi.
Southern.
Yeah. Barapula is where we are sitting.
Southwest.
We are in Barapula. Yeah. Now, in this case also, we can divide each natural stream, which ultimately takes water from those areas and drain it into Barapula drain, and then subsequently it goes to Yamuna. So when we started the work, the first thing which we did was that these natural drains, what is the contributing areas of these drains? And then this is what we have done, the man-made intervention on top of it, which has embedded natural drains also, because these are the locality level drains. How the locality level drains are contributing the water to the natural drains and ultimately the system.
So these are stormwater drains.
These are
provided
stormwater drains provided by the localities. And this also doesn't include all the drains. These are only 4 feet and above drains, which we use for simulation. You might go to the street level. Most of the drains are not there these days. They are all fragmented and not functional. So these are the drains which are functional drains.
Okay.
Which includes sewage and everything.
That I'll come to. I'll come to. It shouldn't be carrying that, but it is carrying. So what the data which we had used, or which was required to be used, when we look at NCT, there is a portion of area which is bringing water from outside Delhi, specifically for Nazafgarh drain. Nazafgarh drain, a lot of areas in this Gurgaon and these areas of our and is the Gurgaon. I mean, it is basically the Sahibi River. So all the water, the upstream area is in Gurgaon and upstream areas. So we had to use a different model to capture that, because we were not bothered about the drains. That is the only urban area of Delhi we were looking at. But when we came to the urban stormwater for Delhi, there we had to use a different model, which is a much more refined model where we had to keep track of every drain and look at its sizes, look at its slopes, look at the carrying capacity of that. So when we are looking at all these things, the first requirement becomes to capture those existing dimensions, because it's a built-up area. It's not a clean slate that we are designing a new area and then saying that this is what has to be implemented. So for Delhi, the problem was that it is existing area. We had to only first look at what is the present efficacy of the existing drainage system. So for that, we had taken the data from government of Delhi. Only thing that they didn't verify that data. They gave us the data, dumped on our head, and it's a long story. It's a long story. I don't want to take time for that. But when we were given to understand that Delhi is the first city which has been digitized, all the infrastructure is captured. We took the data, we took that project, we said that, okay, sitting in Delhi as IIT will help you. I was heading the department at that time. So the principal secretary came and he said, can you help? I said, why not? We will help you. So we said, we won't charge you any money. We'll only take some small amount for having the people who are going to work on this. And they said that we'll have a hotline between the GSDL, which is the company under Delhi government, and IIT, and all the data will become available to us. When we saw that data, hotline didn't happen, but we got the data on the hard disk. And when we saw the data, on the GIS map, in the name of a drain, there was only a line shown, no dimensions, no invert levels. Then I asked for a meeting with the chief secretary, and I said, this is what you have spent 120 crores on. 120 crore was spent on the digitization of Delhi. So then they immediately called all the departments and said that, okay, whatever IIT is asking for, they deployed their contractors, and those people didn't know what the georeferencing is. So we had to train them also. They kept on dumping the data on our head. So we told the people that this data which you have got, you have to put some people to validate that data. Maybe even doing the sample validation. They never did that. So anyway, we went ahead and we used this data. The other thing which I think, ma'am, you were mentioning, that when we started looking deeper, we found that, and I was also at that time very closely working with Justice Subtandra Kumar, who was the NGT chairperson. And nobody in the Delhi government knew that what is the status of their drains. So for the first time, I forced him to get the data, get the departments. There are 11 departments who are having the custodian of different segments of drainage system in Delhi. So I said, ask them to first identify which is the drain and whether it's a natural drain or whether it's an artificial drain, and also give the affidavit whether it is carrying water only or is carrying sewage also. I knew that there's no drain in Delhi which is not carrying sewage. And to our surprise, there were 200 segments of natural drain in Delhi, which during that time they had started paving and covering those drains. I had to get that stopped. So there was an order of NGT where I was involved and it was stopped. And the status was that every drain, whether natural or artificial, it was carrying sewage throughout the day. And that is the status even now. So if you read that order of January 13 January 2015 of the main bench, that is the order from Mali to Nirmal Yamuna. So there we have said that the objective which was given to the DJB, that no sewage should go from any drain into the natural drain or any location from the even unauthorized colonies into the natural drain. But DJB has not implemented that properly. They are only picking up from wherever they are wanting. And this situation is, because if you had done that, then I can guarantee you that if you plug all the sources of sewage going into the natural drains, Yamuna will be automatically clean. So you will have all the drains which are spread over the whole city. They'll also be clean. They'll be dry during the non-monsoon period, and they can be desilted properly. There were 300 points where DJB has punctured the sewer because it got clogged, and it has never been repaired. There are still, some of these might still be there. They are sending the sewage into the storm drains. Some of the pictures you can see, this is taken in the month of May. I had sent around 10 minutes. Okay. No, I'll skip, I think, the other two cases. There's no problem. So I had sent around 800 students to various parts of Delhi from IIT. They have a non-credit course to get connected with the societal problems. So I said, this is the best societal problem. So they came out with around 4,000 shots taken in the month of, I wanted to be taken before the monsoon. So this was done in the month of May or so. And we put that in a portal showing that what is the status of the drains in Delhi. So I'm just showing you 4 of them. This is another drain.
This was in the year of which one was?
This was, I think it'll be 2015 or 16. There's another, you can see that is sheer
sewage.
So, but coming back to now, what we should be doing in a proper investigation, you also have to know that what is the kind of rainfall the city is getting. And this is what we call intensity duration frequency curve, which gives you the idea that what is the general pattern of rainfall in your city for a specific, because normally you have to also see what is the return period against which you want to design your drainage system.
Now, convention is 2 year.
Convention is 2 years.
Right.
And with a lot of difficulty, because I was the chairman of the committee which was formulated by Mahua for coming out with the urban flooding guidelines. So I had introduced there that it should be left to the city. If they feel that they can invest more money, let them decide whether they want to be using a 10-year return period or even more than that. So it's not there because Mahua people were very adamant that they said that if we'll put this, then everybody will come to us to get more money. So I said that is up to them, let them decide. But usually most of the cities are 1 and 2 year return period. So that means by design also you have accepted that every second year you will be flooded. At least some areas will be flooded because the drains which are designed to carry the storm water, they are not big enough. They are not designed for anything bigger than 2-year flood. So we created 2-year and 5-year situation that if, even for 5 year, we tested that what will be the situation if you want to be safe against 5 year, what action you need to take. So these are the two different stations in rain gauge station, Palam and Sabdazang. By using those, we created those. Now, having done that, and
Just
use
go back to the previous slide. So the 2-year return period
for Palam is 79.52 millimeters per hour, and for Sabdazang is 87.2. Return period is that on the average, see, if I'm getting a rain which is coming once in 5 years, is 5-year return period. If I'm getting a rain which is coming once in 10 years, the maximum, then it's 10-year return period. So if I want to be safe against the extreme floods, I'll design it for maybe 1 in 50 years. For example, when you are designing the airport, you're not designing for 2 years or 10 years, you're designing for much higher. So your drainage system should be sufficient to not allow the airport to be flooded, even for as extreme a flooding or a storm, which comes only once in 50 years. Okay.
That's the probability range.
The probability.
50% probability rainfall.
So we analyze the historical data and then assign that what is the rainstorm which has come how often. Okay. You have a question?
Yeah, I was just this, as you were saying, one of the big things that people keep talking about, and I haven't seen like papers on it, but just popular stuff is the distribution is changing. That's all this climate change and intensity and so on.
Yeah.
So forth. Is that something that is visible in the data? And if you were taking historical distributions and modeling it, would that then sort of underestimate or
Yes, some of it is visible, but we also use the projections of the climate models. And that is a lot of work which we have done and we are doing still. The general outcome which is coming out of these models is that for our country, the number of rainy days is going to be less. The volume of water you still might get almost similar what you have been getting. What it implies is that your intensity of the rainfall will be higher. If the number of rainy days are less and you are getting the same volume, the intensity will be higher. And that is even getting observed even now when you are getting in places those intense rainfalls which they have never experienced. So I think this is another issue.
There is also a spatial component.
Spatial also is there. Some area might not get much rainfall, the other area might get. So that spatial variability has been there all along.
So the intensity, the frequency of intensity at a given place is also changing.
So the
So
freq-
you need a more granular monitoring to understand these variations.
Hmm.
In fact. So the earlier 2-year return period for a particular location, like Chanakipuri, could be very different from what it was 10 years back.
So what it is, what it means is that all our design procedures, which we have been using all along, we have been using these design procedures with the assumption that the climate is stationary. You might get the variations from year to year, but the long-term average, if you take two different parts of the series, the average will be similar, or it might be same, which is not true anymore. So you have a bigger problem. If you design now something which is for 1 in 50-year storm, it might be equivalent to 1 in 25-year storm because of the trend of the rainfall, which is increasing intensity-wise.
Stationarity principle is dead. That's
So
very famous.
stationarity is no more valid. And as we go into future, it will be going
Lot
to
more
be
variation.
violated. So we have another issue, which I'm not bringing in today, because then it'll be becoming more complex, but that is true, is a fact. And that is the reason that you are getting much more severe floods, and you are also going to get much more severe droughts. In the same year, you'll get the flood as well as drought. So I think this is what I'll skip, and this is again what is the capture which we had done. But ultimately, I'll just share with you that how we went, we had a lot of discussion, and we thought that in a city like Delhi, we cannot give them a plan that, okay, now you increase the size of these drains, which are existing drains. It's not going to happen because space is not there. So we should first look at what are the other low-hanging fruits which should be used to reduce the severity of your flooding to the extent possible. And then you might concentrate on some specific locations where you have perpetual problems of the flooding, and then solve those. So we did the first part, and we stopped there. We said that first you implement this, but they never wanted to implement because they want big projects. Okay. So what we did, the first thing which we told them, because we had the data which was not validated data. And when we analyzed the data, we found that there are a large number of segments which are having adverse slope. That means the slope is going up. So how the water will move up? There were around 4,400 locations where we identified and told them that this is, go and verify at least these locations, see whether the data is wrong or whether actually you have the adverse slope implemented by some contractor who has not bothered about what he's doing. So they didn't come back. We said that, okay, this shouldn't be there. And if we remove this, change the slope, proper slope is given, how much will be the reduction in the flooding? So we identified in terms of nodes, how many nodes will not be flooding for 2-year or 5-year floods, storm. Then similarly, we also analyzed that which are the places where you have a cross section which is big in the upstream and is becoming smaller as you go downstream. That is also going to create a flooding issue. So we removed those and then showed them how much location you will have the flooding reduced. Then we also gave them that we should rejuvenate the water bodies. Okay. Some of the water which is available, if we connect to the water bodies from the nearby localities, it can take that water, it'll do the recharge, as well as it'll create something which is good for the local public. So how much will be the water which will be absorbed there and how much benefit it can give? We quantified that. Then we also said that parks. We are in Delhi, we have given the diktat that every house which is more than 200 square yard,
Must have.
they must have a rainwater harvesting. So I visited some of the rainwater harvesting houses and asked them, they had put the structure because there was an order, but they never maintained it, never cleaned it. So they were defunct. And we said, what is the use of having such thing which you have enforced? So we said, why don't we have around 1,500 parks in Delhi. So if each park is depressed by 1 foot and we direct some of the water from the locality nearby and put it there, it'll take only 1 day for the whole thing to recharge. And we said that you can keep the footpath. It shouldn't be so deep, 1 foot only, and people can wait for 1 day for the recharge to take place, and it can be used again. So this will be a rainwater harvesting at no cost. Okay. We even told the DJB that, the DDA, that there was, I think, old chief secretary. He was very much impressed with what we had done. What was his name? Tripathi? He was during Sheila Dikshit's time. Okay. So I had met him many times. So he even took me to DDA and said that implemented this thing on at least 50 of your parks. They never did that. So I think ultimately I gave the presentation to the chief minister and said that this is what is our plan. Let your departments do this first. He also said that good, let's do it. There's nothing, no problem. It's very, very cheap. no investment. So he sent even a circular, but there was so much resistance from the departments. They said that cannot be done. We are not used to doing these kind of things. We are only used to give the task to the contractor, and that is the end of our responsibility. But what I am showing you is one or two things, because we kept on working still. Once we took this project on water security, which we had a 5-year-long project, and we did a lot of other things. For example, how we can use the local communities, because they should be equally interested in that their areas are not polluted. So how we can identify what are the pollution sources. So we did an exercise that in each drain, because whatever is emerging from the area is flowing under gravity and going to a drain. So we took the samples in each of the drains of Barappula and compared those in terms of the quality, the wastewater quality, because it's wastewater, is not even storm water. And then we identify that which are the ones which are carrying more pollution. And those we call the hotspots. So now you need not go through the whole area of the Barappula. You have to only identify some of those localities and then go there and see that which are the sources and plug those sources. So this was a methodology which we thought that we'll showcase and tell people like DJB that you should also use, and even the local communities. If they are really interested, they can use a similar process and then identify within that small area which are the locations which are sending this. We have all the people who are interested. There is a site of we are now even have the early warning system where from the rain gauge stations, which are the automatic weather stations, we get the data, we run the models, and we show that which are the areas in Delhi which will be flooded and how much will be flooded, what will be the duration. All that is there, and we are using the people. We have an app, which is this app, which we are crowdsourcing, where people can download this app and tell that during the rainfall, which they observed, which they have seen in their locality, this is the location where they have observed 1 feet of water, or we have shown in a manner that is ankle high or knee high. So they can send us back with the picture, the geotag picture. Then we verify our models. Is it something wrong? So this is happening slowly, and this will create some. Then other thing which we did during this project, that so far nobody knows how much is the groundwater being used in Delhi. So we have come out with doing the groundwater modeling and analyzing how much is the water being supplied by DJP to various water districts and how it corresponds in terms of the sewage generation, which are the areas where their sewage is going, and then quantifying, is the sewage generated more than the water received?
Mm.
If that is yes, that means that water is coming from groundwater. And we have validated that. So this is another thing which we have. This is a site where you can, I think you can go to that and look at many things which have been done. We have even looked at the climate change implications in river Yamuna, and all those things have been provided in various tools. Is the time over? Then I can stop here. Otherwise, yeah.
Quickly, maybe the Kolkata.
Yeah, Calcutta case was.
You started off with climate change impacts.
Calcutta case was done much earlier. It was, I think, 2008 or so, when the World Bank people approached me, and they were looking at that time the flooding of coastal cities, and they had taken 4 cities in Asia, South Asia, and Calcutta was one of the cities. Then they had Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh, and one more city, Manila, I think. I'm not sure, the 4th. But this was handled by us, where we looked at various aspects of the Calcutta flooding, incorporating what is coming from Hooghly. What is the situation going to be in Hooghly when it is under flood? So that was one where we used the hydrological model.
You cover the entire city.
Entire city. And then what is the, if you have to route the flood from the Hooghly, whether it is overflowing the embankments or not, then we had to use the hydraulic model on that. And then the stormwater model for the city. So ultimately, we also went in for looking at the vulnerabilities of various kinds, social vulnerability, how much will be the loss to the people. It was a very detailed project. It's a full report of the World Bank. Those people who are interested, and that was the work done as early as 2008. And we had used the climate change implications on the city, what will be the sea level rise and what will be the storm surges implication on the city of Calcutta, and finally came out with even this kind of information. At the ward level, which are the wards which are going to be more vulnerable? What will be the kind of flooding which is going to be happening there? So that was and then recently we have done Patna, which is still not finished. And Patna is another different case, because in the case of Patna, the last time when it was flooded around 7-8 years ago, the area which is occupied by all the politicians that got flooded, and it was flooded for 10 days. In Patna also, the sewage and stormwater is mixed. There's no separate sewerage system. It's a combined system. There's not even a combined system. There's no system. So everything is coming into. So what is happening is that all the wastewater from the houses, they come into the drains, and from the drains is coming into a sump, which is because it's a flat area, so it cannot go to the river under gravity. So there is no other option but to pump. So they have around 56 drainage pumping stations spread all over the city. And last time when it got flooded.
And this was in which years? The 56 DPS?
Is now, even now.
Okay.
They are thinking of adding more.
Because NMCG has been commissioning sewage treatment plants.
They have commissioned there also, but in the floodplain of Ganga.
Okay.
And that's what I had objected in the beginning also, that this is a land which you are giving, which is in the floodplain.
They can pump into the sewage treatment plants.
Because this is not sewage. This is mixed.
It's just a sewage plus.
So for a sewage STP to handle this kind of inflow is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. But during the non-monsoon period, is sewage only what they are pumping. So when the last flooding took place, the rain came into the night, and all the pump operators, they were sleeping. So the flow was so high and quick that the pump stations got flooded. It couldn't be started again. So while doing this work, they said that what is the option? We said that we should automate the pumps. So we took this project. We said that okay, we'll showcase on 7 pumping stations that how the automation can be done. So we created sensors in the sump. When the level is at a particular level, they will one pump will start when the level is reaching at when changing at a higher rate. Next pump will start, and it will keep on happening. Every station has around 5-6 pumps, and in the same manner, when it recedes, then it will stop. So that has been done and showcased to them. And in this case also, we are having. This is the dashboards of the pumps. You can see even here that whether the pump is on or not, and what is the how many pumps are on. So all that has been automated and given to them. And we have also created the early warning system for the city of Patna.
I have a question, very
Sure.
basic question, because you've done Calcutta, you've done Kolkata, and you've done Patna. They geographically, they probably have some similarities in terms of the river being higher than the city and them having to pump sewage. So the difference of the, they're not being able to pump, is this just a freak incident that the rain came so fast, or is there, this digital twin and all, does it really point to some, underlying institutional problem?
That's what I said, that though they were having the night duty
Yeah.
and operators, so the rain was so intense that the whole area got flooded, and when they realized, it was too late.
So it is an institutional.
The Kolkata networks, for example, into the Tolenala structures, etc., are they designed with better gradient so that it flows into the river without?
No, they are not, and that was the issue, that most of their these drains as well as their sewer lines, they are silted up. So we had even taken that into consideration, that and they don't know how much is silted up. We have taken that scenarios that if it's 20% silted up, what will be the situation if it's 40% silted up? But that is the situation, and they do once in a while, but is not effective. In Delhi also, there's one of the major issue that I don't know how many of you know, Delhi spends around 100 crore every year on desilting of drains. And the desilting, the way when we started this project, I asked those people that how you do the desilting. They said that we put the contractors, they take out the muck, and then we give them on the basis of the volume of silt muck which has come out. So I said, who looks after the effectiveness of the desilting? Because even there's 1 kilometer line long drain, even if there is one segment which is around 5 feet, which is left in between, the whole desilting is of no use. So they have no mechanism, and they didn't want to change also. We offered to them that we'll create a mechanism which will make it very transparent that whatever desilting is happening, and you can also use the local communities to ensure that it is being done and monitored. But nobody is interested because it's a money game.
And this is the desilting that we see before the monsoons, when they pile up the muck next to all the drains. So
That's why
it's all manually done.
Yeah, because there's money involved, and they wait till the rain is about to come.
Yeah.
So I think there are issues which are beyond the scientific aspects.
Those are the institutional.
Those are institutional parts which have to be tackled, and we have to have a different discussion on that.
Different discussion.
Thank you. I'll stop here.
So no further concluding thoughts on this.
I have some few slides, but I'm leaving them
Right,
behind. You
I
can
think-
just distribute them.
That is enough to get into some serious debate. Thank you. I think before opening up to the floor, just a quick couple of things that I would like you to reflect on. When you started out with this SWAT or SWOT model,
Soil and water,
SWAT model,
soil and water
yeah,
assessment.
I kept wondering about the data that would feed into this. I know that this is always a big problem. It's a huge kind of syndrome out there. But you also, your later slides explained how you had to deal with these data inefficiencies. But then one of the things that if you have any propositions, specific propositions, but more so in the urban flooding front, if you could just share your thoughts about it. The second, more importantly, is on the statutory master planning process. Since you were involved in Delhi much more closely, I think there was also simultaneous process of preparing master plan. Could you also share your thoughts about how, in practice, the scientific inputs to master planning have sort of played out?
Yeah.
What was the resistance and why there were resistances, kind of thoughts if you could share, then we can open up for.
And the first part which you have mentioned, I think that is what is important is, as we have shown, that how it should be done in a particular city. You cannot just look at the drain and say that what is the efficacy of the drain unless you scientifically analyze it. You might have designed the drain properly, but the next level is that what is the present status of the drain? Is it the dimension is there, but if it is all filled up with the solid waste, then that drain is of no use. So that is the other part, which is the maintenance part of the drain. So, but when we are analyzing, and I have seen that many of the cities are trying to do the drainage master plan, unless you use these kind of models, for that you need the data. You need the data of the land use, which is easier to get because a remote sensing comes to your rescue. But the major data is the terrain data. What are the elevation differences in the area? Are the slopes proper? So when you are looking at from that angle, when you use these kind of models, that is the data which we were very happy when we learned that Delhi has been digitized, and that is the reason we took this project on.
But then you ended up dealing with these problems.
Yeah, so that is still persisting. So I think any city which is
the second problem about
the second
the master plan.
The second problem about the master plan, again, I was inducted into it by the regional master plan. What is the organization which is no, not the Delhi.
There is an NCT.
The NCR Planning Board. So I had interaction with them, and they wanted me to look at the water aspects. So I asked them that what is the present information you have on water, where the water is going, how the water is being used, and if you're talking of flooding and those issues, what is the information you should start with? They were only interested in putting the chapters. And the same is true for, I asked them that the master plans which are shared with us, you are only saying that this was the master plan which was supposed to be implemented. But who has seen that what is the present level of implementation? What is the present status? Master plan is there, but where is the baseline? So that is not there. And even master plan after master plan, people are working on those without looking at the baseline. What is the point in looking at the master plan if your baseline itself is not there? So I think I said that I am sorry, I cannot help you because there's no information which is scientific enough to view it in that manner. So I came out of that.
More questions about specifics about the master plan? That's any other questions? I do have those questions forwarded from the online since we had good discussion from the room. Let's go to these questions from the audiences on Zoom. So there's Mr. Joy, how to access these river basin and watershed data? If there is a website, could that URL be shared here? I think
I've already shared.
The URL has been.
I think you people have the link. You can share it further.
So the other question is about poor dam dam maintenance and leakages is one of the important factors causing flooding. Do you have any comments?
Not, see, the flood will be only caused not by the leakage, but by the dam burst. If there's a dam burst, then I can,
But also some, in order to protect the structures.
that is,
sometimes the releases may happen.
see, the DRIP project is there by the government of India, which has a lot of funding from the
World Bank.
the World Bank and other people. So they are looking at those dams, the safeties. One more thing which is happening, which is not still implemented, as was mentioned, that design of these dams have been done with some previous historical data. And we have said that 1 in 100-year storm it should be able to cater to. Now, if your the character of your series is changing, is becoming more and more severe, then we'll have to relook into those designs. So even that is part under the DRIP project. But I think people who are the relevant people like Sand Water Commission, they are aware of it, and the efforts are being made where whatever is the possible solutions, people are exploring those. And one thing which which our work can help is to operate the projects, operate the reservoirs in a proper manner by getting them the rainfall or the inflow forecast. How much on the basis of these models, when we generate that this is the amount of water which is coming, and tell it in at least 3-4 days in advance, then they can create that much space in the reservoir so as to get this water stored. So at the end of this storm, you will still have the reservoir full, but it won't be endangering the structure of the dam. So by using these early warning systems and the flow forecasts, you can cater to that also.
You put up a slide in the beginning where you mentioned about the coastal cities, coastal surges. That's what you said, right?
Storm surges.
If you storm surges. So there are these at least couple of incidences that I thought that it was primarily because of those kind of storm surges, and also the poor maintenance of structures in the upstream. For instance, the floods that happened in Vijayawada last year, where Telangana got, the floods from the upstream in Telangana, and combined with these tidal cycles where the draining was difficult from Vijayawada, combined together, it led to this kind of inundation, major floods. Similarly, in Delhi last year, I think it was, when one of the hypotheses, at least the explanations given, was that Hathnikund was in a bad state of affairs with respect to its strength. And then there were these releases, at least the Delhi government accused Haryana government with which was managing that structure.
Now, there's a misnomer. People don't understand. I think these politicians keep on misleading people. Hathnikund is a barrage, and no barrage can store any water. Its only function is to really jack up the level of the water so that it can go into the canal. So saying that so much water has been released from Hathnikund is a misnomer. They have no provision to stop that water. It has to come during the flood season.
Deliberate.
No, not deliberate. I mean, they say that is released. What else they can do? It's not possible.
That is exactly what this accusation is.
But
as a barrage, it has to just release.
It has to just release. During the monsoon, all the barrage gates have to be open.
The point is that there was no provision to hold the water. It was just that it has to be released.
By design, is not there.
It is
not there.
Exactly.
But I had analyzed that storm of Delhi. They said that Delhi has received 9.5 lakh cusecs. Not possible. Only 3.5 lakhs was observed at Hathnikund, which was released. And when we analyzed, what we found that their estimation of 9.5 lakh was, they read the rating curve because the level attained at the Delhi railway bridge, there they have the curve which shows that if the level is this much, this is the discharge which is passing. So what has happened over the years that there's more and more encroachment, there is siltation of the bed level, and the total cross section is changed. That's my presumption. I had asked the Central Water Commission people to get it checked, and we found that this level has been attained because the lower level has been silted up, so the level attained will be higher. So with respect to that level, they are saying that this much discharge is passing, which is not possible. It was a wrong notion. And even I think last week I was asking one of the chief engineers of Central Water Commission, have they got it checked? But I think one thing which you have mentioned, what we are seeing that we are over the years, as we feel that we are developing, we are encroaching more and more our floodplains in every river basin. And we have no mechanism to even earmark what we call floodplain zoning. We must do the floodplain zoning. What it means is that if a flood of a specific return period comes, which is the area which will be inundated in the floodplain, if a higher level flood comes, then the area will be still vast further beyond this level, this area. So once we demarcate that, then those areas which are frequently flooded, for example, which is getting flooded every 5 years, you don't allow that to be used for all those purposes which are against this. When you might allow people to make the house there, it'll be gone. Within 5-6 years, it'll be gone. So we demarcate the areas and then say that this is a permissible land use for these areas, but don't allow anybody to encroach the areas. It's only for those other purposes. So that has to be done for every river basin. And in other countries is done because there's a insurance done of the properties, and the insurance people get these things and made available to them by various organizations so that they can charge the insurance for the insurance premium. They can charge accordingly. But in our case, this is totally missing.
So, okay.
You have
can
some?
take your question. Yeah, there are more questions on.
A quick question
online.
that's related to this. This raises a little problematic issue that you can also have infrastructure which can withstand the flood, right? Which is like the Barapula Road or that type of construction, which will be inside, large, durable, engineered infrastructure, which can happen within the floodplain. So, not all of it gets flooded or not. I mean, so you could also, it's not enough to say, can it withstand the flood? They should, that floodplain thing needs a slightly more complex calculation.
No, it's not that.
Hmm.
See, what we had done in our Yamuna floodplain, first of all, we truncated one area and created the East Delhi there. It was part of the floodplain. So that you can say that, okay, there was a lot of pressure. Then you put an embankment there. With that, you have removed a cushion against flooding. So the water, when it was coming in Yamuna, it was spreading there and it was absorbed there. Now with more and more embankments put, now you have put the Akshardham temple inside, you have put the games village inside. With that, what has happened is that for the same discharge, the level attained by the water is higher. And if you keep on taking more and more areas out of the floodplain, this level will keep on increasing. And there will come a time, which had happened last year also, that your embankment once is over toppled, they're all earthen embankments. So you will have a big flood. You're waiting for a bigger flood, bothering the Delhi, some parts of Delhi, as it happened in 78. The whole Model Town area was gone. It was under flood. I had seen that myself.
Could you pause?
You have some more
Yeah,
questions?
there are questions here, and then we'll take.
Yeah, I have two small questions. Question number one, do you propose to make this SWAT model was available long back, you said, since 95,
95. Yeah.
95. But most of the hydrologists were not using SWAT model. They were using the standard hydrological model. And this particular model gives you added advantage
Hmm.
in terms of planning the basement and all that. Does it provide a solution to the ecologically sensitive zones also? Because most of the time when we talk about flooding, we are concentrated on the sort of downstream side only, but upstream, you have a lot of problems in ecologically sensitive area. Unless we address those problems, we will not be able to uh, rather impact the problems occurring downstream side.
So that's a very good question, and we have done that. We were engaged by GIZ to help them in. They had taken two projects, two basins for showcasing how the river basin management plan should be done. One was Tapi, the other was Ramganga. So we showed to them how the one question was, what should be the environmental flow? So what you are talking about, if the environmental flow has to be maintained, what is the quantity? So we had done that by looking at what is the strata, what is the kind of, and we had engaged one, I think one person who was from uh, Warsaw, Poland. He is an ecologist. They have come out with a new methodology because usual methodology is that you first observe what is the biodiversity there, and that is a very long drawn battle. Now with the new methodology, they have come out with procedures which talk of the population, not the specific species, but the general population. So we came out with a strategy. We gave him what are the what we call virgin flows. When there's no development was there, and in the modeling that can be done. We switch off all the man-made interventions and then see what will be the impact of, what will be the response of rainfall and how much flow will be coming. That is what we call virgin flow. So once we have the virgin flows, what was happening at that time when the development was not there? So that is a good yardstick to ascertain what are the level of environmental flows which are required to be ascertained. So I think there's a lot of work which is there. And these models, it's because of the model when we could even think of getting the original naturalized flows, which were there before the development started taking place.
I have another small question. You mentioned about citizen size. I mean, using that approach, can we sort of go ahead with the SWAT model?
Hmm.
In one particular basin, I was wondering, as I mentioned earlier before you started your lecture, Malprava Basin. It is on the Western Ghat, on
Yeah.
the eastern side, and the rainfall is very high on the Western Ghat, and there is a lot of conflict between 2 or 3 states, Maharashtra, Goa, and then Karnataka. Goa is accusing Karnataka that they are stealing their water because their government has come up with a plan to divert one of the most prominent rivers of Goa
Hmm.
uh, to the sugarcane belt, which is a sort of rainfall area,
Yeah.
and urbanization plus energy transition, because ethanol consumption is going up, and that area is completely devastated in terms of cropping pattern. The whole area has become sugarcane belt,
Yeah.
and that is one thing which I think needs a sort of radical approach using SWAT model. So in that context only, I was just
No,
asking you to give
yeah,
me
I
some
think
idea about how citizen science approach can be.
no, I think
Great to
as
know.
I've said that we have all the basins covered, which includes this basin also, but at a macro level.
Uh-huh.
So when you want to get to have the information which is the localized information, you have to provide that kind of input also. That what is happening at the local level, and the model will remain same. Model will do the same job because is looking at the nature, what the nature is doing.
It's primarily a hydrological model.
It's a hydrological model. But we are now adding to that the groundwater model also, because unless you look at the interaction between groundwater and surface water, you are doing only half job. So I think if you are really worried about the hydrological health and the environmental health of the basins and managing these water resources properly, you have to look at the complete picture.
Okay. Thank you.
We have other questions online. One from Mr. Paritosh Tyagi.
Acha, he's also there.
He's there. He usually joins.
Hmm.
So there's a general question, I guess, I think partially you may have addressed it in your talk. Are ponds in urban and rural areas having significant effect on groundwater recharge and on flooding?
Yes, I think I have already mentioned for the case of Delhi, we have showcased through the proper computations that how much reduction in the flooding can take place if you operate these water bodies properly. And we had also suggested that some of them can be desilted, you can create more storage. And at the same time, in the groundwater model which we are having, there we have incorporated that how much is the recharge taking place from these water bodies and going as a recharge. So if we really want to manage the groundwater properly, we can even come out with the strategy that how much. See, right now that DJB is using the groundwater without even asking anybody what they don't have any to take any permission. There's no regulation. But what is the impact of that on Yamuna itself during the low flow season? Nobody has ascertained. So I think these modeling approaches are there to really bring people who are of diverse domains on a table and then provide them the information, which is a factual information, which is scientific information, so that a proper discussion can take place. And then you can come out with the options which are available. So then we can generate the scenarios also. That's what we did in the case of Ganga, that if you really want to bring back the health of the Ganga, at least in terms of the low flows, the environmental flows, how to get them back, where to get, you can enhance the water use efficiency, you can reduce the water which is being used by the agriculture, because 85% water goes for agriculture. So how you can, even if you enhance the efficiency by 20%, you have 20% extra water. So that has to be seen, and then the people like you should come in to take it into the policy.
Right.
So I think you should work with us very closely.
And look forward to working with you.
And provide these bases, the scientific basis to the policies. And we can provide you all kind of data with the simulation also, that if you do this, see the policy, you are right now, you are only imagining that this will happen. But in the simulation approach, you can actually, without actually implementing, you can see that what is possibly going to happen. And that is the best way forward. Then you can choose from the various range of policies that which is the one which will be more beneficial.
So there are two questions from those who joined online. I think we can come back to the room again after that. One is from a colleague, Pushpa Pathak. We don't plan our cities and their infrastructure with realistic population projections. Population growth is more and infrastructure is always inadequate. So the Delhi drainage master plan was largely a retrofitting plan. Did the plan help in upgrading the drains? If yes, to what extent it was possible?
So the plan has not been implemented. I mean, even the low-hanging fruit which we had mentioned, they have even not done that. Even what to say, they have not even implemented the desilting procedures properly. So I think those are the things where we have to put pressure from the society, and society can only put pressure if you identify that what is going wrong. So I feel that the way I was saying that if you can involve the localities, people, if they are really concerned that behind their house, there's a nala which is going, which is full of sewage. If they are not bothered about that, then nothing will happen. If they are really bothered, then there's ways and means by which you can, as we have shown, you can identify and pinpoint that this is a location where the sewage is coming into a natural drain, and that's not acceptable. Then who's the party who has to take care of that? DJB. DJB has to be made responsible and accountable that this has not happened, and there should be a mechanism in place where those accountability has to be passed on to those people, and action has to be taken. So it's not something that which cannot be done. Most of the time, people when I have seen many events where every NGO is saying that they have done the cleaning, they have done this, they have done that. But those are not sustainable things. They are done once and then that is the end of it. It cannot happen that way. You can only make those people who are responsible for doing that task do it in a better manner. That is your role. So how we can engage in that process, if we do that, then difference can be made. And coming to that question of the more population happening, I'm more concerned that I think is an important thing which I have just remembered. In Delhi, how many people, all of you are in Delhi, living in Delhi? Do you have in your locality the street level drain? Stormwater drain is not there. Have you ever asked that question that where your rooftop water is going? No. It's going in your sewer line. And sewer line is not designed for that. So whenever the rain comes in Delhi, there are segments of sewer lines which are oozing sewage because they get surcharged because they are not designed for that. And the same thing is going to happen when you are going vertical. In one place where you had one house, now you have 10 flats, 12 flats, more than that.
Yes.
So you have those many multiple of water consumption, that much sewage generated, and your sewer lines are the same which were there for.
True.
So how long they can keep on carrying?
Same with roads too.
So I think there is a much bigger issue. Every aspect, that's what we say integrated planning. So every aspect has to be looked into. Every infrastructure has to be seen that what we are, what is the status of that infrastructure, what it was supposed to do, has it already outlived its life because of maybe a additional load coming onto that. So all that has to be taken into consideration, and then you have to talk of these options. The plans have to be talking of that.
I think what Pushpa mentioned it as a kind of retrofitting plan is what mostly happens. And I think what we need to know is how well we can do retrofitting planning, I guess. So
see,
there's another one question before I come to you.
One ultimate retrofitting which will be and which is being done in most of the cities which are having similar characters. For example, Tokyo and London and some other cities. They know that the runoff generation is much higher because of the intensity becoming higher, that is one. But even the pavement, if the paved area is more and more, and the abstraction is not there, runoff generation capacity is almost 90%, 95%. So they are sending all their water into a tunnel, which is dug in the city, and then taking that water out of the city through that tunnel somewhere outside, but that's very expensive solution. Maybe down the line, Delhi also might have to
Delhi
think
may
of that.
have to consider that, yes. So there's this question from Sahana. Are there flood susceptibility studies? Perhaps you have addressed this in the talk. Are there flood susceptibility studies in order to identify factors driving or increasing flood risk in Delhi, such as the physical drivers, socioeconomic drivers, and environmental factors?
We have done that. I think she can refer to this site, which is given the work which we have done recently for water security of Delhi. All aspects of water have been taken care of.
And that's in the same portal?
The same portal.
Okay. Clarification from Mr. Paritosh Tyagi. Chat was disabled. That's the reason why the question was raised much before. His compliments to you, Professor
Thank you.
Hussain, for his masterly presentation.
Thank you, Tyagi ji.
Parthu, do you have any? You were raising your hand. We will come back to you, Kapil.
Two quick questions. One, when you're working across these different cities, you mentioned the lack of quality information about the drainage network, etc., in Delhi. Do you see that as a problem in other cities, or let's say like in Patna or in Kolkata, you found that it was better, worse, whatever the
No,
story,
similar.
similar, and the same reluctance to actually try and gather information?
See, I think one thing which I'd like to mention here is that the capacity of our organizations who are handling this is very low. When we wanted to give to Delhi government all the modeling work which we had done, they said we don't have anybody who can take care of that. So we said, fine, we will expose your people because all of you have engineers. So we exposed around 150 of engineers in Delhi government from different departments. And in the beginning, when we started work, we had sent a call where I told the secretary who had interacted with me, I said, this is a very good opportunity for you to enhance the capacity of your organizations. So we said that you can send a circular to all the departments that we are going to start this project in IIT Delhi. Let those people who are BTech, if they want to register for a master's, we'll take them. If they are already masters, they want to start a PhD on part-time basis, we'll take them, provided they qualify. You will be surprised that only 2 persons came from DJB. One could get the degree of master's and go away, but the other ran away. After exposing around 150 of these engineers from different departments for 2 days, we said that initial exposure will give, and then give us around 4 or 5 people whom we can train, who can handle all this work which we have given and left with you, so that you can, they can keep on doing forever. Not even a single person was available who is willing to work on these aspects and do the technical job. So everybody is interested in doing whatever they are doing. That's a very, very sad situation. And there's no even intent from the higher ups people. They are quite happy the way things are going. So I think we have to change. We have to have a quantum change in terms of looking at all these things and having restructuring of our organizations who are maintaining these cities or managing these cities, the various aspects.
So the two other questions. One is, let's say a city like Hyderabad, very different sort of terrain, rock and soil and the plateau and so on and so forth. Does it make a large difference to how these models might actually
No,
function, or is it?
it won't make a large difference because the basic data, and if they have the rocky area, that will go as the land use, the basic strata, and then the processes remain same. So in that case, there won't be any infiltration taking place. There might be only the runoff generation will be very high. Whatever rain has occurred, the volume of area, the area multiplied by the depth will become volume, and it might be 90%, 95%, and that has to be managed. So the process won't change. The models are generic models. So the models, the way they are formulated, you have to map the model onto the area which you are dealing. Once you map it properly, then the model will remain same.
And is
You have another question?
the final thing, I was just looking at the kind of work that is currently being, so specifically with respect to the discussion we're having about densification. Because densification is a big part of the compact city structures, everybody wants to. Now, I would expect, let's say, that when DJB is planning its water supply and its sewerage, they would sort of be in tandem. So if they've actually planned a water network that is sufficient to take care of 5 families on a plot, which is, let's say, what the current is, then they would have planned a sewerage network also. I mean, so if they've planned, if they're able to supply water to 5 families, they should be able to evacuate sewer for 5 families. Many times that is not the case, but there's also, I know like what Srinivas was talking about, retrofitting. Chennai has recently remodeled its entire sewerage stormwater network and sort of increased the volume capacity sort of to 1,000 odd crores to evacuate much more water than is currently was there before. So when you're looking at these plans across different cities, do you see that kind of what Pushpa was mentioning? Is the infrastructure built to accommodate growth that might take place over a 20, 30-year time frame? Or is it sort of built for what the thing is today as is, and then automatically then the place gets congested in some sense? So what is happening to our roads and structures is also happening to your water supply and sewerage, or is there a bit more thought given to that, especially since I'm just thinking purely from even the basis of the I remember when one talks to engineers, one of the issues with 24/7 water supply was the dia of the pipes would be lower, and that would be a smaller contract, and that was something that people were resisting. So this over designing is always good. In the political economy of over designing is also a good thing. So do you see over designed networks, or do you see under designed networks when you sort of?
No, I'm basically, these are smaller aspects. I feel that the bigger issue is that your demand of water is increasing from where it will come. Okay. So for that, and that's what we have also showcased in our work here. The only way forward is that you have to start reusing the water, enhance the efficiency of water use. These are the two options: reduce the demand and reuse the water. Otherwise, you will find that you wouldn't be able to, and for that you have to have the dual systems, because unless you do that, you won't be able to use the treated water for the drinking purpose. It's not going to happen unless you do a treatment of that level that as is being done in some countries like maybe Singapore and others, where there's a small country and they can afford it. But otherwise, we have to think of these aspects, that use the water. When we say do the rainwater harvesting, there's another misnomer which is happening in our country, that even the industry, and we are sent across the messages which are very wrong messages, even sent over a commission. People like in the Ministry of Water Resources, the other day, this fellow, what is his name, was the previous NMCG DG. Ashok Kumar. Yeah, I know. So I told him that you are sending wrong signal. You are saying stop the water where it drops. Is a very, very bad slogan. It can create havoc, because all your existing projects will stop functioning. You won't get, but if you do to a level which is technically possible, your water won't reach the reservoirs. So you have to have a trade-off, that how much rainwater harvesting should be done. And our industries, they feel that they have done the rainwater harvesting, and they said that they have created, they are water positive.
Yes.
Have you generated the water? From where that has come? So there are so many wrong notions which are going across. And since I'm sitting in the FICCI and that CII, the award jury, many a time I have been telling those those industrialists that it's not your water. You are taking water which was going earlier somewhere else. So you have stolen the water, and now you're saying it's your water. So we have to really be very sensitive to these notions, and we shouldn't be sending these messages that stop the water where it drops. If you do it, you have to define that what is the trade-off. How much should be done, and beyond that, it should not be permissible. But they just get away by giving these slogans, and everybody claps.
So Ashok Kumar would be interesting.
No, I told him also on his face. I told him.
Right. Yeah, anyway, and also I think part of it is also rainwater harvesting is one way, in the right places. I think it is also about catch the rain where and when it falls.
There's
but
no harm
at the
to
right,
yeah.
at the right place. in
There's
that
no
right
harm to do
condition.
it, but by knowing that what you are doing, what is the implication going to be? Right now, it's free for all. I mean, I've seen the watersheds where people have made so many check dams because that is the only thing which gives you the facility to invest more money. And each check dam takes around 5 lakhs rupees. So everybody check dams, and they have destroyed some of the tanks which were irrigation tanks in some of the states. We had analyzed one area in Kolar district where there were two projects happening simultaneously. One, both funded by the World Bank. One was to desilt the tanks, and the other was watershed management. And they were both on cross purposes. They had done so much watershed management that the existing tanks, which were irrigation tanks, they stopped getting water.
Yeah, there is always qualification to these slogans. Slogans are often to mobilize larger mobilization purposes, but then there is always qualifications to that. But we are holding Kapoor Saab with his right. Yes. Kapoor Saab, Sawal.
Thank you.
That
Sir, thank you, sir.
question, please.
सर गोसाई साहब क्षमा कीजिएगा हिंदी में बोलूंगा
बिल्कुल मैं कहूँ तो मैं किसी और लैंग्वेज में बोल
और मैं आपसे माफी चाहता हूँ कि मैं ऐसा विश्वास करता हूँ कि अगर एक ही दिशा में चलेंगे तो हमें कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, हमें थोड़ा सा हटके भी चलना चाहिए। आपने जो डिस्कस किया अर्बन को डिस्कस किया, इसमें रूरल की हालत के बारे में पूछो ही ना, क्या होता है वो, और अर्बन में क्या होता है, वो भी अनऑथराइज कॉलोनीज और ऑथराइज कॉलोनीज में एक तस्वीर बिल्कुल ही अलग है। जमीन आसमान का फर्क है कि वो वहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है और यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है। जहाँ तक आपका जो एकेडमिक अप्रोच है, जिसे मैं कहता हूँ एकेडमिक रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशंस जिसको आप बिलोंग करते हैं, वो बहुत फाइन जॉब करके हमारा जो देश है इस लेवल पर पहुंच चुका है जहाँ रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट जो है ना काफ़ी ऊंचाई पर पहुंच गई है, और आप लोग बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, हर फील्ड में हो रहा है। पर अब मैं यहाँ कुछ कहना चाहूँगा जो कि मेरी शिकायत है,
सवाल
और हम हेल्पलेस ऑन देयर कि यहाँ पर जो पॉलिटिकल मैनेजमेंट ये अपना काम कर देते हैं, फाइल बना देते हैं, प्रोजेक्ट तैयार हो जाता है। आपने इतना कुछ बताया ना, सब सही किया। जब इससे आगे बढ़ते, इंसिडेंटली आई हैपन टू बी सम टाइम what you call civil contractor as well. So I know all about these drains and systems and the floods and everything. So I'm not going in detail of that. तो जिस बीच में कहते हैं मुझे इसकी जानकारी है, तो मेरा ये कहने का मतलब ये है कि जो आपका जो फील्ड है हर जगह एक्सीलेंट जॉब हो रही है, उसके आगे भगवान ही जाने की क्या हो रहा है। उसके आगे जब ये प्रोजेक्ट पॉलिटिशियन के हाथ में आता है, पॉलिटिकल मैनेजमेंट इस यहाँ टोटल फेल हो रही है। जहाँ नीचे जाए, अब मैं एक छोटी सी बात करता हूँ, आपने नालियों की बात कही,
सवाल
अच्छा
नहीं, मैं आपकी बात समझ गया,
बाद में बात कर
मैं आपकी बात समझ गया हूँ, और मैं एक चीज ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि उसका सोल्यूशन क्या है। मैं सोल्यूशन बताता हूँ कि सोल्यूशन एक ही है, हमारी डेमोक्रेसी है, हर आदमी वोट से डरता है, ठीक है। हमारा रोल है एम्पावर करना लोगों को विद द इंफॉर्मेशन। अगर हम सब लोग, जो भी आप कह रहे हैं कि जो लोग कंसर्न लोग हैं, ये ऊपर वाले क्यों नहीं सुनते? क्योंकि नीचे वालों को, जो पब्लिक को ये नहीं पता कि उनसे मांगना क्या है, उनसे हमें चाहिए क्या। तो अगर हम जैसे लोग जो हैं, आप सब मिलके अगर हम एम्पावर करेंगे लोगों को कि ये गलत हो रहा है, इसके लिए आप डिमांड करो, तो ये चीज़ हमारे यहाँ पे हो सकती है, क्योंकि हम अभी भी डेमोक्रेसी हैं।
तो मैं लास्ट आपने का क्वेश्चन करता हूँ, मैं क्वेश्चन करना कि एकेडमिक साइड का मैंने बोल दिया, आप वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग पर बोले। हमारे यहाँ देश में पानी की कमी नहीं है, लेकिन हार्वेस्टिंग नहीं हो रही है। मैं तो कहना ये चाहता हूँ कि हमें आपका तो ठीक है, आगे जो हमें काम करना चाहिए वो जो है इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एंड मेंटेनेंस। इम्प्लीमेंटेशन नहीं है, और जब मेंटेनेंस पर आता है तो जीरो। मेंटेनेंस इज जीरो इन दिस कंट्री। कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं, और फिर किसी की जवाबदेही नहीं है। जवाबदेही किस, हु इज आंसरेबल, ये किससे पूछो, और उसके ऊपर कोई एक्शन नहीं है।
नहीं, लेकिन एक चीज जो आपने हार्वेस्टिंग की बात करी ना, उसमें देखो हार्वेस्टिंग में मेरे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, लेकिन अगर हार्वेस्टिंग करके आप अपनी डिमांड बढ़ा देते हैं दुगनी, जितनी आपने हार्वेस्टिंग करी है उससे दुगनी आपकी डिमांड कर लेते हैं, तो वो फिर पानी कहाँ से आएगा? तो नहीं, बट वही है ना कि देखो जो नेचर आपको दे रहा है वो उतना ही है जितना कि वो देता है, उसी में आपको मैनेज करना सीखना पड़ेगा। अगर नहीं करोगे तो फिर आपस में लड़ोगे।
गुसैन साहब रहेंगे, बात कर लीजिएगा। आपका भी समझ जो है ना, प्लीज शेयर इट later. But let us close it because we are already past the time. I think almost
Yes,
half an hour. But thank you, Professor Hussain, for actually this is quite useful, partly because I think very insightful in many ways, partly because we keep talking about these grand projects like this Yamuna rejuvenation, cleaning Yamuna, or in addressing our urban flood resilience in Delhi. But your talk shows how it actually asks us to go back to the basics and then revisit the fundamentals of basic design and also consider the kind of contextual parameters. So I think it's quite useful in many ways. Thank you for that.
Thank
Then
you.
I hope, as you said, we really look forward to the opportunities to work with you and eventually, and then to in a manner that this, as you say, scientifically or evidence-based information informs policy making. We look
Yeah.
forward to those opportunities, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
We hope to have you more.
Certainly.
Often.
Anytime.
Thank you.
I'm next door only.
Thank you.